Banga koshiro mangura.
Kuraya, bombala kuraya. Kuraya, bombala kuraya. Kura maniama, kura dangama, kura asheto, satu panga sole. Banga koshiro mangura. Panga sole.
The shea tree, with its irregular gnarled branches and dark, deeply furrowed trunk, may look like an ordinary tree. But this scraggly savanna tree produces a fleshy green fruit that contains a very exceptional nut. The shea nut is a major source of income for 900,000 women in northern Ghana.
Hello, my name is Scott Robertson, and we're here in Dipole in the northern region. And we're with the group IG Booma. It's a Shea Butter group in Dipole.
This IG Booma is in our language. But in English language, we can say it is, if you don't know, you to ask. This is the first step where we are going to the bush to pick out the shea nut. So they are removing the shells to reduce the heavy load current to the house. This is the second step. After we pick it from the farm, we sand it and boil it.
Then after the boiling stage, they lay out the nuts to dry.
After they dry, about 4 days, they have to crop it.
The next step is the winning step, which is how they separate the shells from the kernel. The final step in removing the shell from the kernel is by manually doing it by hand, by picking it one by one.
They organize like the way they sit and be picking, removing the shell nut and leaving the shell.
The next step, after they separate the nuts from the shell from the kernel, they dry it for a second time. The next step is first they separate the good nuts and the bad nuts. So the ones that are black they discard so they can increase the quality of the butter. And then they pound the shea nuts into small pieces so they can then fry it. And so now they are taking the cracked nuts and they are taking them to get fried, where they take the cracked nuts and they put them on fire and they fry it while stirring continuously. They can tell when it is done when they put water on it and they can hear the shea nut sizzle. So the next step is the grinding step. And so they have 3 methods of grinding. The first method is using a mortar and a pestle and just pounding it until they get it to the consistency that they want. Then they also have a method where they use a large stone, and they put it on there and they grind it using another stone. But now, since there is mechanical milling available, most of the times they just send it to the mill and get it milled. The next step after milling is to mix the shea butter by hand with water. They mix it with their arms until the shea butter separates. After mixing, the oil from the ground shea and floats on top of the water. And then they just scoop it up and put it into another pan and then send that into a larger pot to put on fire. So the final step after they mix it is they put the separated oil on fire until it boils, and then the pure shea butter rises to the top, and then they scoop it out, and they keep on doing that until they get all of the shea butter out, and then it'll cool.
This is the final shea butter.